Hi. Mmm. Hmm. I feel like the last time we saw each other, I was not eating a banana. I feel like I was eating an apple. Do you feel like that? Hmm. Bananas and apples are resources, natural resources. We eat them and things depend on them. What other things besides humans do you think eat apples? Yep, like horses and squirrels and chipmunks, all kinds of cool critters. What else do you think might eat a banana? I bet you said monkeys. I bet you thought monkeys. I bet you were like, Mrs. Tomlinson's eating a banana. She is an interesting monkey. Just kidding. All right, so today we're going to continue our study of ecosystems. I think the last time we met, we were talking about, interdependence, and we were talking about species and populations and how things are sharing space. And so today we are really going to put terms to that. So our learning target is I can give examples of how the availability of resources affect interactions between organisms. Oh my gosh, Mrs. Tomlinson, this is so confusing. Okay, it's actually not that confusing, and I'm going to help you. So, resources, really, availability of resources, like how much food is there available for the organism, whether it be a plant or an animal. Okay, how much water is there? How much space is there? How much shelter is there? Are there mates available? If you might remember, we did an investigation and we looked at three different sites, and they all had pond water, and one of the sites was in danger of a species becoming extinct because there was only one. If you have only one, most of the time, that one cannot reproduce by itself to make more of its species and can become extinct, and that's how extinction happens. All right, so with that in mind, we're going to learn a couple new terms today. And we're going to look at how organisms actually use those resources and interact with each other with the resources, okay? So our first important term here today is competition. Say it with me, competition. Now, this is not like when you have a total knockout. We're not TKOing here. So what we're doing here is we are talking about not fighting, not running a race. We're talking about animals that compete. Let's talk about competition in your house. I know in my house, if there's like some really good leftovers or like some really fresh fruit and there's like one left, I always try to be the one to get it, right? But sometimes somebody else might get it. That's competition for food in your own house, within your own species, right? You know, that good stuff that comes home from the grocery store that everybody eats like right now and it's already gone, and then you're like, there's nothing to eat. That's competition, okay? Or like the favorite spot to sit in the house, and that's competition for space. Maybe one of you guys has a bigger bedroom than somebody else. Competition for space, right? All right, so this is competition when we're talking about ecology and biology. It's when living organisms need the same limited resources to thrive in their shared environment. So they all kind of live like in the same environment, but they have to share their resources. So I'm going to have you do a little reading, and when you do, I'm going to have you fill in this list of 5 things about what resources members of the same species compete for. Like all humans, what do they compete for, right? They compete for mates and space, and they compete for shelter. We compete for food. We compete for water, okay? What resources do plants compete for? Oh, that's interesting, right? You never thought a plant would compete with another plant. Like, you don't get plants boxing each other every once in a while. You don't get them like, I'm going to get you. But they actually do compete. So you're going to read a little bit about that, and you're going to finish this list of 4 things about resources plants compete for. And please remember that we have a whole bunch of resources in the resource packet for you to refer to if you get lost, okay, in finding resources. The next page, oh my gosh, Mrs. Tomlinson, it's so much. It actually is a wonderful bit of information that kind of looks at how different species work with each other or don't work with each other. But these are huge words. They're not like words you use on a regular basis. So you'll need to make sure you review your notebook and review your resources and say these words, because here they are. I can recognize mutualism, commensalism, parasitism, and predation. Big words. First one is symbiosis. Say it with me. Symbiosis. This is a close relationship between two species in which at least one species benefits. So scientists are like, we need an official word to like indicate how things get along with each other or don't get along with each other. So it's called symbiosis. Okay? Say that again with me. Symbiosis. All right. Our first form of symbiosis is parasitism. Say that with me. Parasitism. Parasitism is an interaction that harms one species and benefits another. Look, I drew a smiley face because that's the species that's happy, and a frowny face because that's the one that gets harmed. So if you have two together, one is happy, gets benefited, and the other one not so happy because they're harmed. So you're going to listen to and watch some video, and they'll talk about parasitism. And in that, you will find two examples, and you'll put those here. Then you're going to learn about commensalism. Say it with me. Commensalism. Commensalism is an interaction that benefits one species, but it does not affect the other. And you can put two examples here. I'll kind of give you an example right now. Here's a squirrel. It's all happy, and it's living in a tree that doesn't care either direction. There's no smiley face or anything, just eyeballs. Even though you know a tree doesn't have any eyeballs. All right, next term. Next form of symbiosis is mutualism. Say it with me. Mutualism. Mutualism is an interaction where both species benefit each other. Mutual, they're so happy. Happy, 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 happy. Okay? You can put two examples there. There's another one called predation. This one we're the most familiar with. Predation. Say it with me. Predation. Predation is an interaction that harms one species and benefits the other. It really is just when one species stalks and it kills it and it eats another, or just simply eats it. So you wouldn't think like a predator-prey relationship would be between a plant and an animal, but hello, deer are eating grass and the grass is alive. Those vicious, vicious deer. Okay, so let me give you some examples just while we're looking at this, okay? So some examples of parasitism that you might be familiar with might be a tick on a deer. You guys know that ticks like need a host. They have to be on the deer in order to suck its blood and get its nutrients, right? They also live on mice. Or maybe a leech. Have you ever been in a lake and you've gotten a leech, or a river and you got a leech and it attached itself to you and it was sucking your blood, right? That's how they live. They attach themselves to other creatures. Leeches also attach to fish, right? But fish also eat them because, oh, that would be predation, okay? So like a leech on a human would be parasitism, or a tapeworm in any kind of animal. That's like if you eat a tapeworm, it stays in your intestines and it eats what you eat. And it grows. It's kind of gross to think about, but it has to have a host because it can't get its own food. All right, so here's commensalism. This is kind of cool. So cows and egrets they don't really affect each other. You might have driven past some cows with some other birds there. And the birds actually are very happy that the cows are there because they eat all the bugs that the cows stir up in the grass, right? I gave you already an example of a tree and a squirrel. Squirrel's very happy, hangs out in the tree. The tree doesn't care either way, okay? A beaver and a fish. They live in the same environment, right? The beaver, though, will chop down trees with its big old teeth, and it will provide cover for the fish, But the beaver doesn't even care about what the fish is doing. It just is providing, cover for the fish. A barnacle on a whale. Barnacles have to be on a whale. But the whale doesn't feel a barnacle, right? So the barnacle is happy, getting a ride on the whale, getting nutrients, and the whale doesn't care. It's too big to care about that silly little barnacle. All right. And then there's mutualism. Mutualism reminds me of the word like mutual, like together. Sometimes if you ask somebody like if they broke up, they'll say, oh, the feeling is mutual, like the same, right? So it is the same. They're both actually really happy or they're really sad. It's mutual, right? So, but mutualism is when they both benefit each other. So, I don't know, that was a really weird takeoff that I just had there. Sorry. Okay, so mutualism might be like bees and flowers. The bee gets its honey, gets what it needs to make honey, and the flowers get to be pollinated. A sea anemone and a clownfish. You guys know Nemo, right? So the clownfish is very happy to live in the sea anemone because the sea anemone catches its fish or is dirty, and the clownfish eats that leftover fish that the anemone has. And in turn, the clownfish cleans the sea anemone. So yay, yay, happy, clean house, and fed fish. There's another bird and a crocodile. It's kind of a famous like legend about the bird that like cleaned the crocodile's teeth, and the crocodile actually will sit with its mouth open. Very scary. And the bird goes in there and cleans out the crocodile's teeth, and the crocodile doesn't eat the bird because the crocodile likes its clean teeth. Right? So the bird gets the food that it needs all chopped up because it's stuck in the crocodile's teeth, and the crocodile gets its teeth cleaned so it can live longer and eat more fish. Happy, happy. Okay? All right, so let's talk about predation for a minute. This one is the one we've actually looked at pretty closely with the lynx and the hare. Remember, a predator-prey relationship, right, with lynx and the hare. A lion eats a zebra, shark eats fish, raccoons eat clams. You'll see a few more examples when you're watching the videos. The more examples you have, the more you will understand how this works. Oh, I did not put predation in here with smiley faces. I'm going to. So one of them is super happy, right? The predator is like, yahoo! And the prey is like, oh dear. And it dies. Now remember, predation can also happen with herbivores eating something, right? Like, because when it eats the food, it kind of kills it. You've seen areas where like cows or horses are out and they're grazing and they've eaten all the grass and now it's complete mud in that particular field. That's not a field anymore. It's really just like mud. So anyway, today you're going to watch some video. You're going to fill in your notebook and enjoy watching about these animals. The animal kingdom is so fascinating.